All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So right off the bat, I know this video is not going to be for everybody. I know this quarterback isn't going to be for everybody, and that is 1000% cool. That is totally fine. I mean, if you prefer somebody else, an Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, a Baker Mayfield, whoever it may be, Mike White, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. As fans of football, everybody's entitled to have their own opinion. Everybody's entitled to have their own preferences, especially when we're looking at the quarterback position. There's not a singular route that all 32 teams have to travel down to get production from that position and ultimately have success as an offense and as a team. There's not that one blueprint that every team needs to, follow and accomplish. Not at all. You can win with a young guy, an old guy, a big quarterback, a short quarterback, a pocket passer, a running guy, a dual threat guy, quarterbacks that can hurt teams down the field, short passing it. We've seen it all. There's no right answer. I think, to me, the right answer here isn't so much about the mold. It's more so about the fit. Can you get a guy that fits the offensive system, that fits the culture, that fits the identity of what the team wants to do and accomplish on Sundays? I think if you can check all three of those boxes, the chances of you landing or your team landing a franchise quarterback goes way up, okay? So it's not so much about one specific trait or anything like that. It just comes down to preferences. So I think when we're looking at the available options for the New York Jets right now, there's obviously some big names with Jimmy G and, again, Baker Mayfield and Aaron Rodgers being the biggest. There's so much speculation, reports, rumors, everything I feel like there's news every single day surrounding Aaron Rodgers. There's so much smoke, and when there's smoke, there's fire. But the one quarterback that I really want to hone in on in this video is Derek Carr. Again, I know Carr is not going to be for everybody. I know there's, some Jets fans that are totally off. They don't want Derek Carr. Again, that's fine. But when I look at Carr, I got to be honest with you, I would love it. I would love it if the Jets land Derek. I know Aaron Rodgers is the big name. I know he's the guy that right now, it's looking like the Jets are the Vegas favorites for if Rodgers were to get traded. But I don't want to look at Derek Carr as a consolation prize. I don't want to look at him as just some, fine, we'll just go get Derek Carr. Hopefully we'll be 500. I don't think that'll be the case. And in this one, I wanted to really kind of go down the list or kind of check off my bullet points here on why, A, I love Derek Carr, and B, why I think he's a great fit. So let's start with the obvious here. He has been the Raiders' franchise quarterback since he was drafted in 2014 as a second-round pick. When was the last time the Raiders have had quarterback question marks or the organization was up in the air about who's going to be playing the position? I can't even remember a time right prior to 2014. And, of course, this season. I look at Derek as a dependable, reliable, durable option at this position. This is a guy who shows up every single Sunday. He doesn't miss time. He doesn't get hurt. I love that about Derek Carr. We can talk about, Jimmy Garoppolo and, all these different options. A lot of these guys have dealt with injuries. A lot of these guys have missed time. Derek Carr hasn't. I believe he's missed 3 games in his entire NFL career. That is insane to me. Considering it's not like he was drafted in 2018 or 2017, 2014, been playing since a rookie. He's missed 3 games. That is the definition of being a durable quarterback. When I look at the New York Jets, Mike White's always hurt. Zach Wilson always misses time. Joe Flacco probably is not going to be back with the team. But let's rewind to 2 years ago. Same story. Zach Wilson hurt. Mike White dealt with injury. Season before that, Sam Darnold, he was missed time every single season as the Jets quarterback. Josh McCown was hurt at one point. I believe Bryce Petty hurt. Derek Carr, and look, it's football. Anything can happen. I completely get that. But I don't want to just sweep that little point under the rug. This guy plays, and I think that is huge. It is absolutely huge. Another thing that I really like about Derek is that he's actually experienced a lot of adversity throughout the course of his NFL career, whether you want to talk about the Henry Ruggs situation, the Damon Arnett situation, the John Gruden situation, leaving Oakland and going to Vegas. Obviously, that one's not as severe as the other 3, but it's still a big deal. I mean, you're moving states, completely changing everything, the scenery, the stadium. I mean, it's insane. The amount of stuff that Derek Carr has had to deal with off the field, all the responsibilities that he's had to shoulder, it's a lot. It's a lot more than a lot of other NFL quarterbacks have to deal with, for sure. For sure. I can't remember half the stuff that, that other guys have to deal with. So Derek Carr, as a person, handles this stuff beautifully. This is a guy who unites the locker room, which I really, really like as well. He's not a divider by any means. He doesn't make it all about him. It always seems like he has his teammates back. It never feels like it's the Las Vegas Cars, the Las Vegas Derek Carrs. Not at all. You can say that about Aaron Rodgers. It's like, is he a little bit of a diva? Yeah, we're starting to hear those things with Russell Wilson. With Derek Carr, I look at him as a gamer. I look at him as a guy who actually cares about the result on Sunday. This is a quick little side tangent here, but one thing I keep seeing is that Derek Carr is like a baby because he like cries in press conferences, and sometimes he could be a little like cringy to watch. Like, I understand that, but you know what? Like, to me, he's relatable. To me, when I'm watching Derek Carr cry at the podium after a game, I'm thinking to myself, like, this guy actually, again, he cares about what the Raiders are doing. He's not just out there collecting a check. He's the opposite of Jay Cutler. He's not the type of person to say, to have a Zach Wilson situation where it's like, hey, do you feel like you let the team down? Zach Wilson, no. Carr would address that question, wouldn't even have to be asked. I let the team down. My fault. It's my fault that we lost. I love that about him. He seems like a real guy, real, authentic, genuine dude. I mean, I'm practically crying. I said this in a live stream the other day with Paul Esden and Buffalo Jet Fan. I'm practically crying in my recap videos. To see a guy that cares that much about his football team, that to me, that stands out. Josh McCown cried. Nobody had a problem with him. Dan Campbell cried. Nobody has a problem with that. So I look at Derek Carr as a gamer, a guy who really, really cares. He stands in the pocket. He plays every single Sunday. He doesn't get hurt. Stands in the pocket. Doesn't matter who's around him as far as the offensive line goes. Hasn't had the best offensive lines. Has had some really good ones, but he's not afraid to get hit. He's not afraid to really put his head down and make that first down, get over the goal line, go for it on a fourth down. I think. He shows some fire. He shows some electricity on Sunday. Again, I know he's not Josh Allen. I know he's not Pat Mahomes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's some elite top 3 guy that the Raiders are just complete idiots and morons for moving off of. At the end of the day, there has to be some continuity between head coach and quarterback. But when I look at Derek Carr, his fit with the New York Jets, I think it really, really makes a lot of sense. As far as a scheme fit is concerned, can Carr run this West Coast Nathaniel Hackett offensive system? I do think so. It's a complex system. A lot of crossing routes, guys underneath, wide open, really focusing in on getting skill players, quicker, shiftier players the ball in the middle parts of the field. I think Derek Carr excels at that. I think he does a really good job of just checking the ball down. To me, that has been one of the biggest issues with Jets quarterbacks over the last couple of seasons, taking the chunk play, missing wide open guys underneath, refusing to throw the check down, or, in Zach Wilson's case, the ball just bouncing off of the turf and not even getting to the running back out of the flat. So my phone ended up overheating in the middle of that video. So this is actually being recorded a little bit later here. But the point was, Derek Carr can come in and operate this Hackett system, no problem. It's not going to be this weird transition or anything like that. I think everything's going to be good on that front. When we look at Carr's defenses throughout the years, it's been bad. It's been ugly. He's never had an elite defense. He's never had, one of these top defenses that, he could really rely on. With the New York Jets, that would be the case. Next season, that would be the best defense that Derek Carr has ever played with. That is a really, really, really big deal. I mean, you finally have a defense that can now force the opposition to punt the football, turn the football over, hold opponents to 10 points a game, 13 points a game. We're not asking Derek to go put up 35 to win these games. Derek also has 33 game-winning drives since he was drafted. That's the most in football since 2014. Although I love that trait about him, it's not like Derek is going to be constantly put in that position where it's like, all right, strap it up. We got to come back from a 14 14-point deficit. Now we got to, lead this team down on a 2-minute drill. Will that happen? Sure, but it's not going to be every week. It's not going to be every single win. It has to be this brutal OT performance that's 100% on Carr's shoulders, 100% on Carr's and the offense's shoulders to will the team back, because the defense just can't stop anybody. You look at his numbers throughout the seasons, really since 2018, he's had a completion percentage above 67%. Nearly thrown for 20 plus touchdowns again since 2018. He had 1 year, I believe, in 2018 where he threw for 19, just under 20 touchdowns, but every season after that, 20 plus TDs. That I think, on the surface, it's so common now, especially with like fantasy football. Like we see all the top quarterbacks throwing for upper 30s, 40s in some cases. So like 25, 26 isn't really like all that impressive to like the national, like mainstream media. But when you compare that to again, the Jets quarterback roster, like we're talking under 10 touchdowns, like Zach Wilson under 10, Mike White under 10. I think Zach Wilson threw like 5 or 6. Off the top of my head, like it's 20 touchdowns from the quarterback position with the New York Jets would make a massive difference. He would have guys to kind of rely on, like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Michael Carter. I mean, and keep in mind, we haven't hit free agency yet. We haven't hit the draft yet. Waiver claims, guys that might not make the team in other destinations, possibly former teammates, former Raiders that we could bring onto the staff to make his transition just that much easier in regards to chemistry and continuity. I mean, I really feel like the sky's the limit. And also another quick pro I want to throw in there, what it would take to go land Derek Carr would not be right now, because we don't know exactly what the market is for Aaron Rodgers, but it's not going to be this massive haul that the Raiders are asking in return. We've seen a bunch of different rumors and reports for what the Packers possibly would want: 2 first-round picks, a pick and something else, maybe a first-round pick and a player, a conditional pick, something along those lines. With Carr, it's looking like it would only take like a mid-round pick if you want to trade for him, because chances are, if you really want to play it safe, you can make that trade. Just give the Raiders a third, give the Raiders a second if you really, really want to, just to lock him in. But if not, right? Like if you want to roll the dice and Joe Douglas and Hackett, these guys, they're okay with Rodgers, they're okay with Jimmy, they're okay with, multiple options here. You can technically wait for Carr to get released and then try to just sign him to a deal then, whether that be a short-term deal or a long-term deal. The only problem with that is that now you enter this bidding war. Whereas, if you trade for him, you have the salary guaranteed, what you're going to be paying. And now you can kind of work and project, how his numbers fit into the rest of the team, who the team can afford to bring back, re-sign, and future acquisitions and whatnot, as opposed to waiting for him to get released, negotiating a contract, and then that still all be up in the air. And also maybe other teams with more cap space having more interest. I think the sleeper right now for Carr is the Carolina Panthers. We all know Frank Reich loves these veteran guys. Wentz, Phillip Rivers, who else? Matt Ryan. And the Panthers have been searching for, a quarterback. PJ Walker, bringing Cam back, Bridgewater, Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Like, list goes on. I could see Derek Carr ending up in Carolina with Frank Reich. And of course, David Tepper, much like Woody Johnson, has been trying to be aggressive. So that's the other team. And then Washington too, because Del Rio's the DC and Washington still needs an OC. So you can go, in theory, you can go get somebody that Derek Carr likes. And all of a sudden, Carr's looking at the NFC like, man, I got a stacked wide receiving core. We're stacked in the trenches. I got my former head coach at DC. Washington can go get Greg Olsen as OC, and then it's like I got two familiar faces in the locker room. But the point is this: I love Derek Carr. I would love it if he ends up a New York Jet. Although I'm really high on Aaron Rodgers, and I think it would be really, really cool if that happens. Derek Carr for me he's not a consolation prize. He is not. He's not second place in my eyes, and that's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying I'm right or anything like that. If you disagree, again, totally fine. But you could even make the argument Derek Carr would be a better option over Rodgers, because you don't get the drama, you don't get this massive financial commitment. You don't have to worry about him retiring after the season. The only way you kind of worry about something like that is if you sign him to a 1-year contract if he's released. And then it's like, okay, well, now he's going to hit the open market. What does the future hold? With Carr, he's younger, he's more durable, and you're looking at a potential 2, 3, 4-year fix as opposed to 1, max 2. So there's pros and cons to everybody. But I really love Derek. I do. I know I might get some heat for it. That's fine. It's totally cool if you prefer somebody else. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.